Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. I'm going to start off this afternoon's video with this post, guys, from the Wrath of Kahneman, a straightforward report. Need for interoperability, low fees inclusion, CBDC interest, and Brazil is highlighted in this latest Ripple Insights blog. The Latin American corridor, low interoperability highlights crypto's big potential, and this was released just yesterday, guys. Across Latin America, a fragmented payments landscape has resulted in low interoperability, often leading to high fees for both senders and receivers. Regulators in the region are working with varying progresses and approaches to enable real-time payment options that foster greater interoperability, increase financial inclusion, generate revenue for banks and businesses, and help protect economies from global market volatility. So we are still seeing pain points in the Latin American corridor with regards to payments, and Ripple is obviously identifying this problem and looking to solve it. Down here, they also talk a little bit about central banks and how they're becoming more interested in re-examining their relationship with cryptocurrency, creating an opening for crypto and blockchain sectors to help bring forth a unified Latin American payment system that makes low-cost, faster, and more seamless transactions a real possibility. Of course, not all crypto is created equally, as we know. Using a digital asset that was designed specifically for payments will be key to implementing a successful digital payment system that can handle high transaction volumes without the friction. Just down here, supporting the trends, Latin America as a region is highly dependent on the US dollar. And so there are many South American countries that are dependent on the US dollar. And this is why, as the world reserve currency, the US dollar plays a significant role on the world stage. Many island nations as well, that especially ones that have a lot of tourism, they tend to use the US dollar too for obvious reasons. From US remittance flows and USD as a reserve currency to economies like Costa Rica and El Salvador that use dollars interchangeably with local bills, some Latin American businesses even use the USD as a liquidity source by routing payments through American banks to transfer funds to international accounts within the region. So also note that USD as a liquidity source, and this isn't the most efficient, economical way to make these types of payments. However, this is what businesses have been relying on before. This reliance on USD means crypto adoption in the States is likely to have a major impact on crypto adoption in Latin America as well. So here's what we're working with. Here's what we're looking at here. Here's at least what Ripple is seeing. The adoption in the US is really going to provide that launching pad for many other countries around the world, specifically in Latin America. There's the heavy reliance on the US dollar, but also a lot of business happens to go from the Latin American corridor to the US and vice versa. There are also various new fintech players in the market that would be working to get involved in customer products. So talking a little bit about the new fintechs, but the liquidity, guys, that is what I really wanted to talk about. And Wrath of Kahneman here saying, but there is a big pain point that they added, the need for the Latin American corridor to de-risk U.S. dependence via progressive regulation. This is a new PR talking point that we're hearing about more often now. So just down here, let me read you guys a little bit of this. From a customer perspective, there is also a disconnect between traditional banking and the use of money for everyday transactions across many Latin American economies. Lower incomes often equate to less acceptance of fee-based banking services, meaning that both convenience and efficiency take a back seat to value in many markets. This can manifest itself in people being more willing to wait in line. So this is what customers have had to endure in the past. But here are the opportunities moving forward. There's a lucrative opening for traditional banks, fintechs, and governments to increase adoption of crypto-forward technology to address this underbanked and fragmented market. These challenges will be much easier to solve once digital banks have more ready access to the market, helping drive down high fees and frictions associated with institutionally controlled transactions. This will also help move people away from physical cash and into the digital payment space. Boy, they really are looking to eliminate cash and move towards CBDCs. Of course, there's a loaded reason why the powers that be want to do that to the population of the world, increasing convenience for customers and creating new markets for both businesses and banks without heavy reliance on the traditional U.S. banking sector. And then they talk a little bit about the beer flu pandemic and how that's influenced financial markets. So again, just back here, Latin America de-risking USD dependence. Now, this obviously would be beneficial for RippleNet and leveraging the XRP cryptocurrency for that liquidity instead of what they were saying they were doing in the past, which was using US dollars to provide that liquidity, because US dollars are the denomination that most people use today for converting currencies, because it's just so readily available and so many countries trade with US dollars because it is the world reserve currency. Wrath of Kahneman down here saying, it's interesting because they also note Latin American USD dependence. And the Palau situation, the Palau crypto USD project, also comes to mind. But when they talk about de-risking from it, a blatant appeal to use other currencies, implication is to use a go-between like XRP. Well, Of course, I mean, Ripple is posting this blog post on their Insights blog. The implication is obviously to use XRP, and I'm guessing that Ripple is lobbying these governments in the Latin American corridor, countries like Brazil. We already know that they have a relationship with the Brazil Central Bank back in 2020. We know Brad Garlinghouse did meet with the head of the central bank over there in Brazil. But other countries too. I think Ripple has been working very hard to get into that specific market and has been making headway. So de-risking against the USD. Also, we got to think about the inflation, the printing, and the world we're living in today. And historically, these countries have been so dependent on the USD. Well, if that all comes crashing down, there's going to need to be another solution to provide liquidity. RippleNet and XRP are obviously going to be there to save the day. Wanted to thank the Wrath of Kahneman for posting that. Also wanted to bring this up, guys. Another one from the Wrath of Kahneman. This is a small study out of Malaysia that found more respondents reporting investing in XRP even then Ethereum, and only second to Bitcoin. So an interesting study here that he brings up. The study is located in this tweet, and it's a PDF that you can download. So I will link this tweet in the tweet thread. Sorry, not in the tweet thread. I will link this tweet in the description of the video if you guys are interested. But what I really wanted to point out was this. A bit of a study, a bit of a poll here. Depth of knowledge of cryptocurrency, and you guys can see the responses here. A moderate amount is 45% of respondents. A little said 28.4% of respondents. None at all. So people who don't know anything about cryptocurrency represents about 13.74%. And only 8.5% of respondents know a lot, and a great deal said 4.27%. Now, what I really wanted to point out here was this, that Wrath of Kahneman noted XRP, 37.44% are invested in XRP. Very popular cryptocurrency in Malaysia. Johnny down here also saying, looks like our Malaysian brothers and sisters are smarter than your average person. And James Crypto down here, who is from Malaysia, James Crypto Space says, as a fellow Malaysian, I can testify that many young people are very passionate and engaged in cryptocurrency investments and trading, and even our minister is proposing to make BTC legal tender. So another country as well that is looking to perhaps add Bitcoin as a legal tender for a means of exchange in that country. It's great but not surprising. In Malaysia, like in the Philippines, XRP is strong thanks to Ripple partners and the importance of remittance for local people. So let's not forget the culture, right? I'm not so sure about Malaysia specifically, but in the Philippines, I know there's a lot of remittance going to and from Western countries to the Philippines, and XRP, Ripple-enabled financial institutions, do a lot of those remittances already in that part of the world. Malaysia, obviously a close neighbor, so I can see why a lot of people are invested in XRP. I mean, it just makes sense if they know the nuts and bolts, and if they know perhaps a little bit more about this than the average North American or European. And also just amazing to note here that XRP makes up 37.44% of investment portfolios, larger than Ethereum. Ethereum sits here at 35.55%. Of course, Bitcoin, the king coin, in the number one spot, but XRP taking the number two spot. It makes sense if Malaysians are utilizing financial institutions or money transfer, cross-border transfer services that are already using XRP to source that liquidity. So their knowledge base, they're seeing it, they're actually experiencing it and using it in a real world use case. So it makes sense to me, even though in the United States, we're not seeing it at scale today. However, guys, that is likely going to change in the near future. Wanted to thank the Wrath of Kahneman for posting that. Great insight there. Michael at Val5Links posting this. And this has to do with Algorand. They are aiming to convert their network transaction fees into carbon offsets. Proof of stake blockchain protocol Algorand will implement a smart contract that will automate the offsetting of the network's carbon emissions. In a recent announcement, Algorand revealed that a new smart contract would take a portion of each transaction fee within the blockchain network and automatically process it to purchase verified carbon credits at Climate Trade, a blockchain-based carbon offset marketplace. According to the Algorand Foundation CEO Stacey Warden, the move will allow the network to scale while still being carbon negative. Warden told Cointelegraph that the smart contract will ensure that their blockchain remains eco-friendly in the long term and hopes that other firms do the same. So we are seeing Algorand, again, one of the chosen World Economic Forum coins that they profiled in their June 2021 report, is moving to offset their network's carbon emissions. Here is a quote: "We hope this encourages our partners and other blockchain protocols to lower their carbon footprint." She explains that all tech companies have a responsibility to help build a sustainable future, and their team is happy that they are able to provide a blueprint on how this can be achieved. The CEO also praised the blockchain industry's efforts to be more eco-friendly, Warden said. And one last quote here: "The industry is moving in the right direction by adopting proof of stake as a preferred consensus mechanism. While there are certainly valid criticisms against Bitcoin and proof of work, The future is bright. So it's funny because, on the one hand, if we go back to 2017 and 2018, the heads of these companies were not necessarily promoting the eco-friendly so much and not necessarily negating Bitcoin as much, I think, as they are today. Even though Brad Garlinghouse says he's long Bitcoin and long Ether, there's this hint now of, XRP, cryptocurrency, or environmentally friendly rather, along with the Algorand blockchain and many other proof of stake types of cryptocurrencies. So we're seeing this narrative shift a bit. And, I think it's the timing, the great reset, this whole move, the narrative push, carbon credits, keeping everybody in line, CBDCs, control. It all is part and parcel to where this is going. And on the one hand, it's a very utopic idea, but in practicality, the powers that be want to control the masses, and they are trying their hardest to do this, and cryptocurrency is only a small part of this. Nevertheless, I like to hedge my bets. I do personally own Bitcoin, and I do hold Algorand and XRP as well. Two of those WEF coins that I think are really going to make waves in the future. And I've always said this too, even if the World Economic Forum does not succeed 100%, does not succeed fully in implementing their view of a utopian society, well, utopian for them, not so much for us, I still think that these blockchain companies, I don't think that Ripple or any other of these blockchain companies are necessarily going to fall off the map because the technology is still sound. It's just going to be a matter of how it's going to be utilized in the future of finance. And so, on the one hand, if they win, they are going to implement these technologies to control. On the other hand, if they do not win, and I'm talking about the powers that be here, there still is that infrastructure that needs to be fixed because, quite frankly, the financial system is effed. It needs to be revamped regardless. So is it going to be on the WEF's terms or is it going to be on our terms? This is the question we have to ask ourselves. It is a bit of an uphill battle, though. As you guys can see from the one here, the plan, George Soros just invested in Polysign. And you can even just see from this image up here, George Soros, they're talking at the World Economic Forum, just as a sidebar. So what's going on with this? This coming from procoinnews.com here, guys. George Soros has just taken an equity position in Polysign. And he says here, if George Soros is investing, you might want to go along for the ride. But it's just my opinion. Here's what the announcement from Polysign said, and he brought up this tweet here from the official Polysign Twitter handle. Today, Polysign announced the acquisition of MG Stover and Company, creating the world's largest vertically integrated full-service digital asset fund administrator, and our Series C round of funding led by Cowen Inc., Soros Management Fund, Brevin Howard, and GSR. And here's a link to the article down here. But back to Procoin News down here, he says, let me back up a moment in case you don't know what Polysign is or why this is important. So what is Polysign? And for those of you guys who do not know, Polysign was a project that was led by Arthur Brito, founder of Ripple, and David Schwartz, and Stefan Thomas. Here's an old tweet from Bank XRP from back in 2018, just showing us when we discovered the Polysign project all those years ago, a small team working to solve the biggest problem in crypto today, custody and security. So that's what it focuses on. The tech team is led by Arthur Brito and David Schwartz. From the traditional financial sector side, our CEO, Jack McDonald, formerly CEO of Conifer Financial Services, and Tim Keenley, former vice chairman of the largest traditional custodian in the world, BNY Mellon. And so their mission, as you guys can see down here, to provide critical infrastructure for the growth of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. So this was kind of before its time, founded in 2017, providing cryptocurrency and digital asset infrastructure and security, something that they knew was going to be needed down the road. So Bank XRP posting this from a few years ago now. Back over here, the company has been largely extremely secretive since its founding, leading the digital asset investor to always whisper Polysign whenever he talks about them because it's like they are not supposed to be spoken of. They have flown largely under the radar, except for when the XRP community has noticed updates with regards to Polysign. Just as the big brokerage companies provide custody services for stock ownership, Polysign aims to do the same for crypto. In other words, when you buy Apple stock from Morgan Stanley, you don't actually get a stock certificate. Why not? Have you ever thought about that? It's because these big institutions provide that custody service and you just get credit from the ownership on a ledger. Many people, perhaps rightfully, claim that this system of custody leads to bad bookkeeping. But guys, I think the critical point to pay attention to is that George Soros just invested in Polysign, so it is time to pay attention. That from Andrew Zell. Also, Stuart Young down here. George Soros has now invested in Polysign. Didn't he recently meet with Gary Gensler? I'm not sure about that. Here's the press release in the latest development to improve the quality and breadth of digital asset infrastructure available to institutional investors. Today announced that Polysign has entered into agreement with MG Stover for a mix of cash and Polysign stocks. They want to deliver a comprehensive and vertically integrated custody, trading, and administration offering to institutional investors for cryptocurrency and digital assets. This near-term development accelerates Polysign's product development plan and paves the way for future service enhancements focused on institutional investors and asset managers. Alongside this acquisition, Polysign will complete a Series C capital raise, adding new investors to its shareholder base, including the Soros Fund Management, Brevin Howard, and GSR. Cowen Digital will also add to their equity position. And some quotes down here. MG Stover is the go-to administrator partner for many of the most sophisticated and successful investors in digital assets. Matt Stover, MG Stover's founder and CEO, is widely regarded as a visionary in our sector, and we are excited to gain his expertise as shareholder and a core member of our management team. This coming from Polysign CEO Jack McDonald. Our success in building institutional best practices for the digital asset ecosystem has helped foster a sector that has grown to over $2 trillion of assets. So going back to the cryptocurrency industry, again, when Polysign was initially founded, the cryptocurrency market was not nearly as big and as robust as it is today. If I just bring up the total cryptocurrency market, and if you guys, let's just go back to this tweet here. When Polysign was founded back in 2017, you guys can see, going back here, let me throw that on the weekly real quickly here, take that off auto, get that crap off the chart there. Back in 2017, the cryptocurrency market obviously not worth nearly as much as it is today. So even if we just isolate the 2017 year here on the chart, just to give you guys a sense of what the cryptocurrency market was worth at that time. I mean, that was the year of the bull run, 2017, where Bitcoin did hit its former all-time high of $20,000 per coin. But at that time, the market was only worth anywhere between $14.5 billion. And even at the top, it wasn't even worth $1 trillion yet, $784.5 billion. And now it's a $2 trillion market. Some are projecting in the coming years, it's going to go up 5, perhaps even tenfold, and in the next decade, maybe up to $100 trillion. So is it any surprise that George Soros was interested in investing in Polysign, a company that was founded by the same guys who created the XRPL? More value added to the ecosystem through this company, and I would not be surprised if, when we hear about clarity in the US with regards to cryptocurrencies, giving more cryptos clarity through the XRP Ripple lawsuit, that this company is going to come out of the shadows and play a pivotal role in cryptocurrency custody and cryptocurrency security. One last tweet here, guys, from Esoteric XRP. This was back from 2020. Who were the key developers of the XRPL and ILP? David Schwartz, Arthur Brito, and Stefan Thomas. Who are the key developers of Polysign? David Schwartz and Arthur Brito. Also, who is the key developer of Codius? Stefan Thomas. So he's assuming the plan, XRP plus Polysign plus Codius, that's what's going to bring us to a $700 trillion market. Of course, this is all speculation, but I think it's pointing in the right direction. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.